She did everything the system tells a threatened mother to do. 14 calls to police, videos, emails, court filings, even a GPS tracker she pulled from her own car and mailed to deputies. 10 days before her death, she wrote, "I am in imminent fear of becoming a victim of domestic violence." At 6:03 a.m., her prediction came true. Barefoot and desperate, Mary Gingles ran from door to door with her 4-year-old daughter, pleading for help. Just steps behind them, Nathan, her ex-husband, who was supposed to have no guns, walked up the driveway carrying a silencer-equipped pistol.
In Tamarack, Florida. About 5 minutes ago, someone was knocking. A lady was knocking really hard on my door, running in the street with a little girl. It seems someone's after her.
Tell me exactly what happened. You said you saw a female and a child running through your backyard?
Well, to my front yard. She was knocking on my door. I couldn't see her because I was asleep, so I went to the I went to look outside the window. I didn't see anybody, and I saw her running, coming from across the street.
How long ago was this?
Maybe 4 or 5 minutes ago.
Describe them to me. Were they black, white, or Latin?
Okay. The lady seems white. And then at the end, a little girl crossed the street. A little girl, like a 3 or 4-year-old little girl, white with long blonde hair.
3-year-old white female. And you said there was a guy chasing them?
It seems like someone's in back of, she was running fast, and someone was like running too in back. I don't know if they were running or leaving something. I don't know. She was after them. I'm so nervous. I'm sorry. She was running after them too.
And this was like 5 minutes ago?
About 5 minutes ago. I was asleep when.
Tell me exactly what happened.
I just woke up out of the sleep and there's gunshots and screaming.
Okay, just stay on the line with me, okay?
Yeah.
What else did you hear? Okay. How many minutes ago?
Less than a minute ago.
Okay. Let me just let them know. Do you still hear the screams?
I still do.
Okay. Just make sure we have rescue as well. Do you still hear any shots?
No shots. Just I got a kid and an adult crying, a young lady crying.
Okay.
By the time sirens pulled up, Mary, her father, and the neighbor who tried to hide them were dead. The only eyewitness left standing was Mary's little girl, and every warning sign of the state of Florida had ignored. So were the warnings really hidden, or were they simply ignored? In February of 2024, Mary filed for divorce from her husband, Nathan Gingles. He was a former U.S. Army captain who'd become a defense contractor. He was no stranger to violence and owned at least a dozen firearms and 6 silencers. Along with the divorce papers, she also filed for a domestic violence restraining order. A judge agreed and ordered him to surrender all of his weapons. And Nathan did, at least on paper. But only a few months later, in September, those weapons were quietly returned. The reason was buried in legal technicalities. The couple had agreed to share custody of their daughter under a no harmful contact order. It was a compromise Mary likely hoped would keep things peaceful. Instead, it would prove fatal. She tried to warn everyone. She told the court Nathan was manipulative, unpredictable, and violent. She believed he was biding his time, waiting for the right moment to act. Over the next year, she documented every escalation. In October, her attorney urged her to check under her car. Mary took out her phone and started recording. Her voice trembled as she crouched beside her Mitsubishi Outlander. In the wheel well, hidden behind the rear axle, was a black GPS tracker. She traced the $702 purchase back to Nathan's credit card. Determined to leave no doubt, she mailed the device to the sheriff's office and sent them photos and videos. She followed up by phone and email trying to get someone to act. A deputy later claimed he couldn't reach her because her number was disconnected. But in a sworn statement, Mary said she'd called repeatedly and listed every date she tried. No one ever called her back. By December, the situation turned darker. This time, she discovered a backpack tucked behind tools in her garage. Inside were duct tape, rubber gloves, zip ties, plastic wrap, a syringe, and a handwritten note describing 3 ways to kill her: air embolism, psych medication, overdose, and waterboarding. Terrified, she filed another injunction and called deputies again. They came out and took a report, but nothing was done beyond that. In early January, officers finally went to Nathan's apartment to serve the protective order, but when he claimed he no longer had any firearms, they left without searching. No arrest, no risk protection order, no follow-up. Under Florida's red flag law, police can remove guns from people who are considered dangerous. Nathan fits that description in every way, but no one stepped in. A few weeks later, her ex-husband told the courts she wasn't in any danger. Mary's response was simple and chilling. Denied. I am in imminent fear of becoming a victim of domestic violence. 10 days later, her fear came true. At 6:03 a.m. on February 16, 2025, Nathan walked up the driveway of Mary's home. Her father, David, was on the patio drinking his morning coffee. Nathan raised a silencer-equipped Sig Sauer pistol and fired a single shot to the back of David's head. Inside, Mary heard the gunfire. She grabbed her daughter, Seraphine, and ran barefoot into the street, screaming for help. Mary pounded on multiple doors, begging someone to let her in. When no one answered, she ran across the street to the home of Andrew Farron, a neighbor she barely knew. Andrew opened the door without hesitation and pulled her inside. Seconds later, Nathan forced his way in. Andrew had let Mary and her daughter inside and gone back to his bedroom. He was still in bed when Nathan shot him under the blankets, then turned to Mary and shot her. Little Seraphine saw everything. After the murders, Nathan grabbed his daughter by the hand and walked calmly back to his silver BMW. Then he drove away as if nothing had happened. Police issued an Amber Alert, and 5 hours later they found Nathan and Seraphine in a Walmart parking lot. She was unharmed, sitting quietly in the back seat. The shooter surrendered without incident. When questioned, he offered no confession, no explanation, only flat, emotionless answers. Inside the home where it ended, investigators found David's coffee spilled across the patio bricks. They found Andrew still lying in bed, the blankets pulled up to his chest. He probably never even saw Nathan come in. Mary's body was found under the window, suggesting she had tried to shield Seraphine in her final moments. Her last act wasn't a scream or a plea, it was protection. In the days that followed, the Broward Sheriff's Office scrambled to contain the fallout. With 3 victims, Mary Gingles, her father David Ponzer, and their neighbor Andrew Farron, authorities need to answer for their negligence. Sheriff Gregory Toney suspended 8 deputies and demoted a captain. In a press conference, he admitted the agency had probable cause weeks earlier and failed to act. Mary's family didn't call it a failure. They called it a betrayal. Legal experts reviewing the case later said deputies had at least 3 opportunities to intervene under Florida law. One judge described the entire response as an institutional collapse. And through it all, there was Seraphine. She was 4 years old. She didn't understand custody battles or restraining orders or red flag laws. All she knew was that her world ended in one morning. Her name was on the injunctions, too. She was supposed to be protected. This wasn't just a domestic violence case. It was a case about systemic failure, about what happens when every warning sign is ignored until it's too late. Mary documented everything. She followed every legal step. She left behind a paper trail a mile long, and none of it saved her. Nathan Gingles was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, child abuse, kidnapping, and violating protection orders. The state announced it would seek the death penalty. Meanwhile, Seraphine was placed in foster care. Her mother's sister petitioned for custody. So did a cousin on Nathan's side. The decision was left to Broward Family Court. One final twist came days after the murders. A woman was seen rummaging through Mary's garage. When neighbors confronted her, she claimed she was Mary's aunt. In truth, she was a relative of Nathan's. She later admitted she lied because, in her words, "Every time I say I'm related to him, people look at me like I pulled the trigger myself." The case is still pending. For many, the outcome of the trial won't be enough that justice would have been stopping him last fall, or in December, or the first time Mary called for help. Justice would have been answering the phone, filing the paperwork, searching his apartment, listening to a woman who said over and over, "He's going to kill me." Mary Gingles didn't slip through the cracks. She was pushed.